Lewis Hamilton's transition to Ferrari for the 2025 Formula One season has been one of the most talked about moves in recent F1 history. While expectations were sky high, the results so far have raised more questions than answers. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix was a clear example of the challenges Hamilton is facing. Finishing in P7, exactly where he started, Hamilton failed to make any progress during the race. That result in itself is unusual for a driver of his caliber. More concerning was the fact that he was over half a second slower than his teammate, Charles Leclerc, in qualifying, and finished the race a staggering 30 seconds behind him. This kind of performance difference between teammates in equal machinery is something that deserves a deeper look. The main question that arises from this is why Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion known for his exceptional racecraft and late race heroics, is struggling so much with the Ferrari SF-25. When Hamilton spoke to the media after the race, he didn't hold back. He admitted that at no point during the Saudi Arabian weekend did he feel comfortable in the car. That's a bold statement, and it shows just how disconnected he feels from the SF-25 at this point. One of the major factors contributing to Hamilton's struggles is the unique driving characteristics required by the Ferrari SF-25. Throughout his career, Hamilton has been known for his aggressive driving style. He's a master of late braking, loading up the front of the car under heavy braking, and using the rear end of the car to help rotate it through corners. This style allows him to carry high speeds into and through the corners, which has served him exceptionally well in previous generations of F1 cars. However, the SF-25 is a very front-oriented car. That means it has a tendency to be more responsive at the front, but looser at the rear. For Hamilton, this is problematic. He relies heavily on a stable rear end to make his driving style work. Without that confidence in the rear, he can't push the car to its limits in the way he's used to. Instead of rotating smoothly, the car becomes unpredictable, and Hamilton is forced to back off just to keep it under control. This destroys lap time and impacts race pace. This issue becomes even more pronounced at high-speed circuits like Jeddah. The corners require absolute confidence in the car's balance. Hamilton, not having that trust in the rear, is unable to take the same aggressive lines as Leclerc. The onboard footage and telemetry comparisons confirm this. Hamilton is braking earlier and not carrying as much speed through the apex. That half-second gap in qualifying is a direct result of this lack of confidence. Another aspect that's been affecting Hamilton's performance is the braking system. Ferrari uses Brembo brakes, which provide a very different feel compared to the Carbon Industries brakes Hamilton used during his years with McLaren and Mercedes. The Brembo system offers a much sharper initial bite, which can be unsettling for drivers who are used to modulating their braking force in a more linear fashion. Hamilton has always relied on trail braking to fine-tune his corner entry. With Brembo brakes, that approach becomes much harder to execute. His race engineer even pointed out during the Saudi weekend that Hamilton could gain time by braking 10 meters earlier into corners. That's a big shift for someone who has made a career out of being one of the last of the late brakers. The telemetry shows that Leclerc is indeed braking slightly earlier, but getting the car settled and turned in much more smoothly. Hamilton, on the other hand, appears to be wrestling with the car under braking, which compromises his entire corner. There's also the issue of engine braking. At Mercedes, Hamilton rarely used engine braking as a tool for controlling the car's behavior under deceleration. At Ferrari, he's had to adapt to using it more frequently. Engine braking can introduce a kick of torque during deceleration, which alters the braking distance and car balance. This is especially evident when comparing his lap to Leclerc's in qualifying. Hamilton seems to suffer from extended braking distances and struggles to hit apexes cleanly. This leads to understeer and forces him to use more steering angle to compensate, which then affects traction on exit. These small details add up. Hamilton is having to think too much while driving. He's not driving instinctively, which is when he's at his best. Every time he approaches a corner, he's second-guessing the braking point, wondering how the car will react, and adjusting on the fly. That split-second hesitation is the difference between being at the front and stuck in the midfield. Another factor working against Hamilton is the lack of a consistent baseline setup. Charles Leclerc, having been with Ferrari for several seasons now, has a clear understanding of what he needs from the car at each track. He knows which rear wing to use, how to set the suspension, and where the car needs to be to feel right. Hamilton, still new to the team, is having to experiment more. In Jeddah, he was the one testing different rear wing specs while Leclerc had already committed to a low-drag setup. This trial-and-error approach means Hamilton is always a step behind in terms of setup optimization. Hamilton has also been reluctant to spend extensive time in the simulator, something that could be critical at this stage of his Ferrari career. The simulator at Maranello is a valuable tool for understanding how the SF-25 behaves and finding the right setup window. Carlos Sainz, for example, spent countless hours in the simulator when he joined Ferrari, and it paid off. Hamilton, who has expressed his dislike for simulator work, might need to reconsider that stance if he wants to close the gap to Leclerc. Then there's the larger issue of the current ground effect era of F1 cars. These cars are designed to run very low to the ground with minimal pitch and roll. That stability is great for aerodynamic performance, but limits the ability of drivers to manipulate the car's balance with weight transfer. Hamilton's driving style, which relies on inducing a certain amount of pitch during braking to help rotate the car, simply doesn't work as well with these cars. The Ferrari SF-25 in particular appears to be sensitive to ride height and floor wear. Ferrari had to raise the car slightly after the Chinese Grand Prix to avoid excessive plank wear, and this has negatively impacted Hamilton's performance ever since. The China sprint race was a rare highlight for Hamilton. He stuck the car on pole and went on to win the sprint race in clean air. That performance shows that the SF-25 has potential and that Hamilton can extract it when the conditions align perfectly, but it also highlights the car's narrow operating window, as soon as the team makes even a small change to the setup, like adjusting ride height, the balance shifts and Hamilton loses confidence again. That confidence is the key. Without it, Hamilton can't push, can't experiment, and can't fight at the front. Every great driver needs to feel at one with the car. At Mercedes, Hamilton had years of experience and setup data to fall back on. At Ferrari, he's still building that foundation. Until he does, these kinds of weekends will continue to happen. What makes things even tougher for Hamilton is that the SF-25 seems to require a smoother driving input. Leclerc's style, which is more refined and calculated, suits this car better. He's able to extract the maximum without unsettling the balance. Hamilton, who likes to be aggressive and use all the tools at his disposal, finds himself limited by the car's sensitivity. He's essentially having to rewire his instincts. All these factors, the braking system, engine braking, lack of a baseline setup, limited simulator use, and the nature of ground effect cars, contribute to a situation where Hamilton is not able to drive the way he wants to. The Ferrari SF-25, for all its potential, is not yet a car that suits his style. That doesn't mean he won't figure it out. Hamilton has a long history of adapting and overcoming challenges, but it's going to take time. The upcoming races will be crucial. If Ferrari can address some of the ride height issues and bring updates that make the car more compliant, Hamilton could start to find his rhythm. Spending more time in the simulator might also help accelerate that process. The team needs to work closely with him to understand his needs and make the necessary adjustments. Hamilton's experience and talent are unquestionable. He has the ability to turn things around, but it's clear that the process of adapting to the Ferrari SF-25 is proving to be more difficult than expected. Fans will need to be patient. The season is long, and there's still time for Hamilton to find his feet.